Welcome to Powering Success, future-proofing your generator company, the go-to podcast for industry leaders in the generator installation and service business. Here we dive into the strategies and innovations that keep your company ahead of the competition and bring you insights from top experts and successful entrepreneurs. Let's get started and power up your potential. Now here's your host, marketing guru John Tedesco.
All right, welcome to Powering Success. Today we're joined with Tim Weaver, owner of ARK Generator in the greater Houston area, sorry. ARK Generator has been a family owned and operated since 1979, and Tim and his wife have owned the company since 1993. Over the years, they've built ARK into a 40-person operation, serving thousands of generator customers across the Houston market. What's particularly interesting about ARK is how much they handle in-house, from electrical and plumbing to concrete work, installation, startup, service, and maintenance. They've built a truly turnkey operation rather than relying heavily on subcontractors. So we're going to talk to Tim about growing his family business, building a great team, surviving the ups and downs of a weather-driven industry, and what more than 3 decades of ownership have taught him about the generator business. Welcome, Tim. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Thanks, John. Thank you for having me on your show today.
Sure. So take us all a way back. ARK Generator's been around since '79. How did the company originally get started?
Okay, so my company was originally owned by my future uncle and future father-in-law. In 1979, W&A Electric Service was incorporated. They were both based out of the Houston area. They did mostly very small commercial work, very small residential work. In 1987, I moved to a small town north of Houston, went to work for my uncle, and I worked for him from 1987 to 1993. We did mostly residential new construction. We serviced a small town there, so we were the go-to electricians for that area. 1993, I bought this business from my uncle. And for the first really 10 years, we mostly did residential new construction, residential service, motor controls. We worked for the cities in our area, the water companies in our area, and the sewer plants that were in our local area at the time. So it was fast forward to 2000, the early 2000s, 2003. We started getting phone calls for home standby generators, which totally blew me out of the water. I couldn't imagine that somebody wanted a generator on their house. Being mindful of the fact that cell phones and all the devices that we have now, nobody really had then. It was mostly just, a little handheld cell phone that you had that didn't really do anything. Maybe it had a small game on it or something.
Sure.
So in leading up to, I guess, 2005, I believe, is when Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans. And even though that was in New Orleans, it had a ripple effect, I feel, all the way to the Houston market. We started getting more phone calls for generators. And then you go to 2006 when I believe Hurricane Rita hit Houston. You just saw the increase in people not wanting to be without power during these times. I mean, you got to realize, Houston, Texas in the summertime in September, extremely hot, extremely humid. We like our air conditioning down here. So when people were out of power for more than a couple of days with the perishables going bad and then just not having air conditioning, the area we lived in was a retirement community. So you had a lot of older people that were up there that, they weren't just in a stage in their life where they could, do without electricity. So we saw an uptick in phone calls. Moved to 2008 when Hurricane Ike hit our area again. To me, that is really the storm that really solidified the generator market in the Houston area. you just saw, huge areas of the Houston market being without power. So
Hmm.
that's really, I feel, what catapulted us into the generator market to where we were kind of moving away from doing residential new construction. I was finding that this generator business was a lot easier to do. You were doing a job in a day instead of residential new construction. You were spending, 3 to 4 days on a rough in and come back and spend 3 to 4 more days on a trim out. So the very labor intensive work that we did for, residential new construction. So it was an opportunity to me to see another model of electrical work that we could get into that wasn't quite as hard on my guys. The work wasn't as hard. It was you were getting in, getting the job done, and you were getting, your payday at that point. Not to say that it was fast money, because well, it was not. I mean, we still had to earn every dollar that we earned while we were out there on that job.
Sure.
So uh,
Sure.
I've
And
said a lot.
yeah, I mean, you really started from the beginning. I mean, that's great though. And starting in 1993, but you were running the business with your wife, right? So
Yes.
how did that go? Like during that whole time and during that transition from doing all the construction over to generators, like, did you see eye to eye? How was the dynamic?
So, my wife Naomi, she's always kind of been behind the scenes. She mostly handled payroll, accounts payable, accounts receivable. I always had a girl that was in the office that, did the day-to-day stuff. She was pretty much hands off. I would run things by her, and when we started doing the generators, it was, I was coming home and tell her, and I said, "Look, I think we found an opportunity, a niche that's still doing electrical work, but it's going to be a model of business that allows us to keep our customers, to start developing relationships with these customers through
Yeah,
our maintenance agreements."
yeah,
So early on, man, we were just, yeah, we were electricians. We weren't plumbers. We
right.
weren't, we weren't mechanics. So it was like, man, I've got to try to bring in people now that understand the motor side of it, the fuel gas side of it, feeding that generator, and then on top of that, bringing in people who understood the maintenance side of it, how to develop a true service business within our electrical business.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, a lot of electricians, that's like one of the misconstrued understandings of generators that an electrician can install a generator or maintenance a generator, which is just not really the case.
Not 100% correct. No, it is not, because we've learned a lot over the years. And I tell a lot of my customers, I used to tell them that, I used to think that the electrical part of it was the most important part, but in reality, it's all important. And if you don't have the fuel done right for that generator, you can shorten the life of that generator. You can cause a problem for that customer,
Yeah,
which we're not in the business of causing problems. We're in the business of solving problems.
right, right. Okay, and then when you think about ARC's growth over the years since you started doing generators, what were some of the bigger turning points?
I would say
I,
um, moving from, making that move from electrical work, moving to generator work.
mm-hmm,
Um, some of the things that caused that, of course, were the hurricanes.
right.
Um, Solidifying, the generator market in our area. I would say in 2010, we were selected as one of, I believe, 5 dealers in the greater Houston market to become a part of the Centerpoint Gas Energy Generator Program. That is the natural gas side of Centerpoint Energy down here. There's electrical, and then there's the gas side. And we were selected as one of 5. And that year, we did more generators than we had ever done. So it was at that point that it was kind of like a light bulb turning on in my head saying, if we if we stay in this segment, then we can really watch this business grow. So that moment, I would say the next moment or next turning point in our career, our lives as a generator company was in 2012 when we moved to the Conroe area,
Hmm.
which is, it's, I don't know, 40, 50 miles north of Houston. We still feel like we're a part of Houston, but it is, a suburb, of Houston. But those items right there to me were really the turning points that really just shot us, into the generator market in our area.
Yeah, and now that you're closer to 40 employees, I mean, what really changes when you go from a small family business into an organization that size?
Yeah, going from, well, whenever we first started, we had what, 4 to 5 employees. Um,
Hmm.
Not a lot of personal problems. You
Right,
knew the guys that you were working with.
right.
Then I was elbow to elbow with those guys out there on the jobs, helping them
Sure.
do the work.
Yep.
So, and you went from uh, knowing these guys, and whenever somebody calls in sick, with a 4-man crew, that throws a big wrench in your plans, but
Yeah.
over the years, as we've grown, and we weren't I wouldn't say we just like grew real fast. I've always been slightly hesitant about making big changes. But as we grew and we started adding employees, going from 4 or 5 employees to 40 employees, now you really have to make sure that you stay in tune with your employees, the way we feel about it anyway. We try to have, we don't always do one-on-one with them, but we're going to ask, all these employees at some point during the week, how are you doing? What's going on in your life? Is there anything you need help with? Any kind of family thing maybe that we can help you with? Is trying to keep your finger on the pulse of the business with your employees is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. They're the backbone, so you want to make
Yes,
sure
they
they're
are.
happy and there's nothing going on that you don't know about. Yeah, that's great. And it sounds like you have a really solid team and good systems in place. And you've made a conscious decision to handle essentially the entire generator projects in-house, rather than contracting out. So is that something that you did when you were putting together these bigger teams, was pulling together electricians separate from plumbers and, some mechanics along the way? Like what is the thought process there, or the strategy with bringing on more people?
So, you really got to have key team members in place. In 2009, you've spoken with Josh before. He's been on some of the calls.
Hmm.
He came back to me. He had worked for me as a young man while he was still in high school. And he came back to me in 2009. He went away for a few years, got a good background in electrical, both high line and residential voltage work. Came back just a better employee to me. He had really big plans in his mind as far as what he would like to be able to do with WA electric arc generators.
Hmm.
So having him in place, we hired a young man that was he just graduated out of college. Carlos, he heads our service department now. He came with just a degree in whatever I think it was in criminal justice, but he saw something here that he wanted to be a part of. He went on to get his journeyman's license, and at this point, he's going to be testing for his master license. But he took over the service department part of our company, And he has, been able to take that and really improve that department. Josh had a really big hand in molding him and bringing him along in his pathway in this company to become our service manager. So he came on board with us, I think it was in 2011, 2012. In 2014, I had a young lady that came to work for us that had accounting experience. Her name is, we all call her Miss Heather. But she came to work for us, and she has, when she tells me, she says, Tim, really, when I first came to work here, it was just something temporary. And she's been here for, 12 years now. So uh,
Is it
she
still
has had a
temporary?
lot. Yeah, temporary, 12 years later.
Yeah,
So she has been a big piece, a big part of this company, where it is now with the ideas and the thoughts and the processes of how we handle the maintenance agreements and invoicing, and just, her ideas in general about how we go about doing what we do. So having key people in those places, people that you can trust. And really, I look at them really as partners in this business because they've all proven that they want to stay here and they want to be a part of ARK Generators.
sure. It sounds like you got a lot of those. I mean, what have you learned about identifying those kind of people, the ones that you can grow with the company, versus someone who just might not be a fit?
Well, that we talk about that a lot.
Mm,
It really it takes. We're always looking for a special type of person to come in and be a fit with us. I mean, we want somebody who's got ethics, who's got morals, who will look at this as not just a job, but just as a career. Because
sure.
hey, we're willing. If somebody's willing to put in the effort, we're going to train them. We're
Yep.
going to send them to school.
Mhm.
We're going to allow them to move up in this company if they choose to do that. So, and in our, we all say this, man, we just can't get good employees. I was talking to a gentleman the other day, and his dad has been in the electrical contracting business for a long time. And back in the 70s, the 60s, the 70s, he was complaining about the same stuff. So I think decade over decade, we always seem to have those issues with help, with employees, being able to find the right ones, because it takes the employee that can work on the backside in the office side, and it takes that employee that can go out and go in the field and work in these temperatures that we're seeing right now. It's 97 degrees out there right now. We've got guys out there
Yeah,
in the field working, so it's not easy. It's not quite as hard as doing residential new construction, but everything has its tests and trials.
sure. You've built a great recruiting process there too. And you're an attractive company. I'm sure you don't struggle too much for the most part in finding new people when you need to find them. Um, how about sales? Going to the customer's property and consulting with them in person.
Yes, sir.
Um, you know, what are some, why is that important? What are some of the misconceptions homeowners are having, when they first start shopping for a generator, things like that?
Um, John, I would say that going out to a customer's house to meet with them one on one, face to face, shake their hand, being invited into their home. That's what we strive to do. I know there are some companies out there that do it streaming. I mean, they're not even going to show up. Hey, take your iPad, show me what your panel looks like, show me what your meter can looks like,
Yeah,
show me where you want the generator. We're just not going to do that. We take too much pride in what we do and how we do it. We're very much we're going to give you a custom install. I mean, we want it to, number one, uh, be safe. We want to make sure that when we tell you that we can go through your attic to run, their electrical cable, that there's a pathway there, because what we don't want to do is we don't want to come back to the customer and say, oh, by the way, since you wouldn't let me come out to your house and we can't get through your attic, now we're going to have to charge you another 2 grand to dig around the house. We're
Right.
really big on when we turn in that proposal to that customer, that's the price. So unless they say, look, we were going to put the generator 5 foot away from the meter and the gas meter, but now I want it all the way in my backyard. That's typically the only time that we're going to change our proposal, our
Hmm.
contract amount, is when the customer makes a change like that. So being there, having that personal touch with your customer, that's really what's important to us.
Yeah.
And knowing that, when we walk away from that job after it's been completed, that we're going to have that relationship with that customer for a long time.
Yeah, sure. I
You
mean,
had
that's
another question within that question, so I don't remember what it was.
yeah, though what, the typical misconceptions homeowners are having on standby generators. I mean, a lot of this is everybody has these similar issues. I'm more interested in how you get around some of these objections. I mean, this is really going to help some of our listeners.
The misconceptions to me for the typical homeowner is that the generator is just it's an easy install. It's not a big deal. It shouldn't cost as much as it should.
It's only 7 grand at
Um,
Home Depot. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there have been manufacturers that have made a generator install out to be a DIY project, and it's not. There's too many variables involved. There's electrical, there's plumbing, there could be propane. There's
Mhm.
since Hurricane Beryl, we've come to realize that some of the requirements that the generator companies gave us, and I'm talking about all of them, not just one, all of them gave us, you can be 18 inches off the wall. You have
Yes.
to be at least 5 foot from your soffit vents. That just didn't always pan out correctly for us after Hurricane Beryl, because we were getting, 5, 6, 7, 8 days of runtime, and that carbon monoxide was building up, and it was just pulled up inside the attic, which was causing problems. So
Mm.
there's safety issues with the generator, and if not done correctly, you're going to be in a bad way as a customer.
Yeah, sure. So it's the equivalent of running your car in the garage, with the garage door shut.
Exactly. Exactly. That's right.
Very, very dangerous situation. When it comes to proper sizing and load management, that all gets complicated. How do you educate the homeowner who essentially just says, I just want the generator to run everything? What kind of, how do you handle that kind of objection or that kind of pushback?
Well, when somebody tells me that, then I'm going to ask them a question. Do you want power like you get power from the power company? Or would you be okay with having power to everything, but just not being able to run everything at the same time?
Hmm.
That's how I kind of handle that. And if they tell me, well, I want it to run everything like I got power from the power company. Well, where I go at that point is, and it's always based on the size of the house. If
Yeah.
they've got a 1,500 square foot home, all gas, and air cooled is going to give them that solution, what they're looking for. But if it's a 3,500 square foot house with two ACs, three ACs, pool equipment, electric dryer, double electric oven, and they want to run everything just like they have power from the power company, that pushes them into a liquid cooled generator, and now you've almost doubled the price of what an air cooled would be. And a lot of times when you tell them that, they're like, oh, well, wait a minute, let me step back, let me rephrase that.
Hmm.
Maybe I'm okay with load management.
Hmm.
And then they, at that point, they may ask me, well, what does load management look like? And then I go through the process of helping them to understand what load management does, how it operates. It doesn't mean that it's going to turn everything off. There's just a certain process of how a load management device works.
Right, right. Now, I mean, financing has become a major part of the Resi generator business. What have you learned about presenting financing as part of that sales conversation? Does that always come up, or only when you feel like it needs to?
That is something that we lead off with. We lead with financing when we get the lead that comes in.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to start with. This way, you're
Yep.
also not making any kind of judgments or assumptions. Financing's available to everybody,
That's correct.
right?
And at some point during the conversation, and a lot of times when we're there, they're going to ask us about financing. They may even say, "Hey, I saw on your website where you offer, synchrony financing, and you offer service finance company financing. How does that work? What does that look like?" And it's always they're going to want to know what the finance rate is, how much interest they're going to be, having to pay. And both of those companies have very good finance plans. And whenever you're sitting across the table from that customer, you're able to show them, how financing can help them to be able to afford that generator that they want, that they need, then it really becomes easy, to be able to help that customer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's it's good that we have those options. Some of them not always the best financial options, but you have the options anyway. Um,
Yeah.
so now getting into Houston's weather demand, hurricanes, big freezes, and other sort of weather events. What happens inside a generator company when a major outage
Oh,
suddenly hits? And we're dealing
oh
with
my
one
gosh.
right now. We have
Yeah.
a client up in Indiana that 500,000 people were without power for 10 days, and they
Wow.
had to turn off their phones. I mean, they're unable
Yes.
to answer phones, do estimates, or anything like that. I mean, how do you deal with that?
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
I would say, first off, if it's an event like that and the generator market in your area is mature, um, yeah, you're going to be number one, you're going to be getting those service calls. Number two, you're going to be getting the calls from customers that wanting generators installed like the next day, which is not going to happen.
Hmm.
So, whenever an outage like that takes place, every single company in our area is going to be inundated with phone calls. We made a concerted effort after Hurricane Beryl, well, really after not Hurricane, after the freeze that we had in 21 or 22, whatever it was,
Yeah.
because that caused the same thing. The phones were ringing off the wall for 3 4 days straight. After Hurricane Beryl, it was the same thing. I mean, literally, our phone did not stop ringing for like 3 days, and we brought in extra help, extra people to just to be able to sit there and answer those phone calls because not only were we getting our customers' phone calls, we were getting our competitors' phone calls too. And I'm sure because our customers weren't able to get us, they were reaching out to
Yeah.
the other companies as
Get
well.
desperate. Yeah, as long as you get somebody
Yes,
on the
they're
phone.
just desperate at that point.
Yeah.
So it's, all hands are on deck for us at that point. We pretty much stop doing installs and everybody comes in. Every truck is manned typically with two guys and we just start making, we create our job sheets. We lay out each day who we're going to go see. We got to make sure that we got parts. So getting parts in
At
that you
that
got to
time.
have
Yeah.
to do the repairs on these is just as important. I mean, because we're not really set to respond to that type of carnage, that happened in the use. Let me just say this: the CenterPoint Energy powers roughly 2.8 million people in the greater Houston area. 2.3 million people were out of power. Yeah. So 30%, typically about 30% of those possibly, or no, not 30%, 5% of those have generators. That's probably a high number. 5% have generators. And then however many of those were having issues, it was an incredible time for us. It generates a lot of business. It generates can generate a lot of bad press for you, but it's, and everybody got, bad press off of this and everybody got good press off of it, but it really strained what was going on here with our employees.
Yeah.
Generac sent down a lot of parts down to Generator Supercenter in Tomball. So they were kind of like a hub for, brushes and controllers and just different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really good. And Generac's always been really good about that. Whenever there's a bad event that happens, a catastrophic event where there's a lot of outages, and they'll send crews, from Generac to come down and help with that. So,
I see.
creds to Generac for doing that. But, I've said a couple of times regarding Hurricane Beryl, if you were to take every single generator company in our area that, can do service work, put us all in one office, took all the service calls that came in during that time and said, here, you guys go out and take care of these, this probably still would have taken us over a week, 2 weeks to get it completed
Yeah.
because it was just so massive. And a lot of it was just parts you couldn't get, it was something that also curtailed or could have curtailed, response. The fact that trees were down in the streets, electric lines were down in the streets. It really wasn't safe to be out.
Yeah.
And to have companies going out to these areas that was possibly fairly dangerous. I mean, how would you know if you could even get back to your office? Gas stations were closed down. If you didn't have fuel in your truck, guess what? You're not going to roll, so storms present a very special time as far as what it takes to be able to answer the phones, to be able to control all the leads that are coming in, the service calls are coming in, and be able to get to those in a timely fashion.
Yeah, I mean, it is an interesting business challenge, I mean, it creates a tremendous demand, but you didn't build your business on this waiting for storms to come around and, flood your service team and everything. You build your business over generator installs and, you put yourself out there so people can, install generators over the course of the year.
Yep.
How do you I mean, well, I know now, but how do you go about creating more consistent demand throughout the year? I mean, you hire an agency, right? I mean, that's that's
That's
the whole point.
exactly correct. Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
So
and
we're just, we're kind of in a period right now where because there's no storms, there
it's been
hadn't
good.
been any weather events really since July of 24.
Yes.
It just takes, staying active, on, your website, your social media, staying active with your referrals, making sure that your sales guys or really every person within your office, your team is making sure that, hey, we do generators. We want to let you know this is
Yeah.
what we do. Um,
Yeah.
Referrals to me is just that's, I don't want to say it's a lay down hand, but whenever you're getting a referral from somebody, that's to me that says a lot about your company and what that person doing the referral says about you as a company.
Yeah, sure. I mean, aside from that, I mean, the Houston's electrical grid is continuously seeing pressure. They're putting up data centers and, these large things that are going up that is going to just continue to build this pressure. Where do you see the backup power market heading in Houston or the greater Houston area anyway over the next, I don't know, 5 or 10 years?
Well, according to Kohler and Generac both,
Hmm.
the generator market is only at about 3 to 4% market penetration in our
Yes.
market. So, and I don't know if that's nationwide or just in the greater Houston area, the Gulf Coast area. They're building subdivisions so fast that we can't catch up with the homes being built. So we're constantly being behind. So to me, the generator market, the generator field can only go up. There's always going to be an outage. There's always going to be something going on. I mean,
Hmm.
our seasons come around every single year. There's always going to be a winter. There's always going to be spring storms. There's
Yeah.
always going to be the next hurricane season. With the amount of people that are moving to Texas, the amount of businesses that are moving to Texas, the data centers that are coming in, that's only going to put more and more pressure on our grid, which means maybe we're going to be experiencing more brownouts. So to me, a brownout is actually worse as far as you're damaging equipment in your home. An outage is just gone. It's out. You don't have no more power. You're done until your generator comes back on.
Yeah.
But with a brownout, that means that you're getting low voltage to all your equipment in your home. Not
Yeah, I
good.
mean, and it's and a lot so a lot of that is happening. So this is probably why your reputation is paramount. Is something I talk about all the
Yeah.
time is making sure that you have a great reputation because like you said, the referral business are as good as closed deals. But not just doing a great job out there, but having it emulated on Google. You want 5-star reviews.
Yes, we do.
You need Google to understand that you have a good reputation, especially in Houston when there's probably 200 dozen generator dealers that are even popping up all over the place. So it's going to go, the decision is always going to go to the company that's got the better reputation, the more longevity in their experience, that kind of thing. I mean, one of the things that stood out to us actually, having some interview customers after installations, you guys are doing a great job with that. Um,
So you've called some of our customers?
and yeah, no, but we see it. We can see it on your Google profile. I mean, this is where
Yeah.
people are going.
Yeah.
This is where we
Yeah.
want to make sure that you're doing a good job. But it's important to continuously get those reviews. What do you have in place? What is your process or your SOP for maintaining that reputation?
Yep. It's a team effort. From the time that first phone call comes to the office, how you handle that customer, how you respond. You're not putting them on hold to sit there for 5 minutes and the person that picks it up is like, can I help you? Can you tell me what you need? So, from that first phone call to the handoff to either, somebody make an appointment or somebody wanting to set an appointment for service or wanting to buy a maintenance agreement, wanting to find out about our company. All of that in tandem with how we train our guys on the service side, how we keep them trained, how we keep them in school during the year to make sure that they're staying up with either the Generac or the Kohler product. Um, Making sure that when the guys go out in the field, that they're dressed appropriately, they're badged. People know who they are. We're calling ahead to let that customer know that we're on their way out to see them. So all of those things together, and with our presence on our website, our reviews that are backing up everything that they're seeing and hearing. To me, that just it's a collective, concerted effort that lets that customer know that they can feel safe about hiring us.
Yeah, and I think you also answered my next question without me asking it was just, why would human touch still matter, in an increasingly automated and AI world? I
Hmm.
mean, that really
Hmm.
does answer the question. Um, you need to have that. You need that human connection.
Yeah, we do not have, I mean, we have not really, we use AI, Chat GPT just for insight, asking questions, but as far as using it in our business, we do not do that. When we're out of our after hours, you're going to talk to a live person,
Yeah.
and they're going to take your information and then they're going to send it out via text to
Hmm.
our service guys. Everybody's going to see that call that comes in.
Yeah.
So you're going to be, somebody's going to reach out to you fairly quickly.
Yeah. That's great. I think that's tremendously important. So okay, lessons from 30 years of ownership, Tim. If you were sitting down with a generator business owner somewhere else in America who wants to build a company that can be thriving 20 or 30 years from now, what advice would you give them?
Uh, just make sure you have your processes in place. make sure you have an idea of where you want to go and what you want to do, how you want to get there, your roadmap to success,
Goals.
having goals, having key people in place to help you get there, because no man is an island. Not one person can get there on their own.
Right.
Making sure that um, you know how to treat people right, from the customer to the employees. To me, those are all very key points. For us, it's, knowing that there's a greater power than what we see around us. We all have a strong faith, in our God and our Lord and Savior. And we try, it's not something that I'm just going to put out there. I want people to see who I am based on what I do and how we run our business and what we say. We're not going to publish it out there or anything like that. We're a big Christian organization, because I want them to figure that out on their own.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So somebody starting in the generator business, just know full well going in that it's the busy times are weather generated. And it's just proof of that. And you better be prepared for the slow times. You better get your service business established and try to maintain that relationship with your customers. To me, just like you were saying, having those touch points, having that personal touch from the office to your customers that you go see and that you selling the generator to, or that you're picking up a maintenance agreements from. Those are all very important things.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, just some rapid fire questions. We have just like maybe 60 seconds. Okay, Generac or Kohler? What's the first thing you tell a customer who asks you to choose one?
Ford or Chevy?
Got it. Residential or commercial? Which side of the business keeps you on your toes more?
Residential.
Mm. Most underrated skill for running a generator company?
Ooh. Uh, Man, being able to wear multiple hats,
Mm.
being able to understand your team, your employees. To me, you are only as good as your employees, man. If you don't have, a good relationship with them, then you're sunk.
Leading from the back,
Yeah.
100%. The biggest mistake you see new generator dealers make?
Focusing too much on installs.
Mm. One business metric you think every generator dealer should know?
I'm gonna say you better know your financials. You better know your financials in and out.
Mm. One thing you would never subcontract? Maybe the electrical.
I would never subcontract. Um, really all of it, but just that man, I don't know. All of it's important to us, John. Every
Right.
every every facet of it. There's really not one over the other that we wouldn't want to subcontract to, from somebody answering our phones, except for after hours. Hiring somebody to go out and maintain our generators. I mean, we expect a lot from our service guys when they go out there to maintain that generator. Man, that is our badge that we wear proudly, of how well we take care of our generators. So, man, it really is it's all of it. We just would not want to do that.
Okay, that's fair. The craziest storm or outage you've experienced in all your years of business, and maybe uh, a crazy situation that you've had to deal with.
It had to be that freeze.
The
That was
freeze.
for us down south.
Yeah.
You know, 5 days after that snowfall, I still had snow on the ground at my house. 5 days in Texas. That doesn't make any sense at all. So, um, yeah, running service calls on icy roads, and we haven't experienced that. As long as we've been doing this, whether it was just doing electrical service work, or this, generators. I would have to say the freeze is probably the craziest thing that we've
Wow.
had to experience.
Okay. And our last question, what part of running ARC generators is still the most fun for you?
Seeing the growth of all the employees that are here, my partners that are here with me, how everybody, from the top down, gives 125%. I mean, that's, seeing, yeah, I have one guy that has been with me since about 96. He came to me just as an apprentice, and not an apprentice, just as a helper. And he's pretty much seen every facet of the generator industry, from the install side to the service side to doing a little bit, the maintenance side, to now he's doing sales. So he's been with me over 25 years, and, just seeing, his changes, his growth in his life, of being here with ARC Generators. And I've got a lot of stories like that. He's just, Andy's, he's been here. He's here for the long haul.
That's great. And that's good. One of the best things I like about you, Tim, is that the stories that you tell are mostly about, your employees and your
Yeah.
life at ARC, rather than,
Yeah.
the customers that you're dealing with. This is why you do so well, and you have a great team, and you have such a solid company running for so many years. It's just a lot of attention on the family of your company. I love it.
Well, I've got to give kudos to Josh, to Miss Heather, to Carlos, to Mike. He handles inventory, to uh, Ching, which handles installs. My sales guy, all my sales guys, all the office staff, all the techs out in the field. Man, it takes everybody to make this happen. It really does. And you got to show your employees your appreciation for that.
Thank you for listening to Powering Success, future-proofing your generator company. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. For more information or to connect with John, visit him online at www.generatorseo.com. If you found value in today's content, please share with others and leave us a rating and a review. Until next time, this has been Powering Success.